Hey guys, it is 5:28, so I'm just starting it a couple minutes early because it always takes us a minute to find it and log in and stuff like that. So when you get in, just let me know that you can see me and that you can hear me. I have a couple of fans going on behind me, so if you can't hear me very well, I can turn one of them off, but just let me know. And I am grabbing the YouTube link and I will drop that into Facebook for everyone. If you have some friends that you want to share this with, that aren't on Facebook, you can always send them to YouTube. All right. I have like the itchiest face today. All right, posting the YouTube link in Facebook, also on this guy. Just making sure it's easy for everyone to find. I think this is going to be a really fun chat tonight, so if you want to be here, you should be here. Awesome. All right, Ava, thank you. Everything's good. So we do have some takers. People are coming in. All right, the Sheltie is joining us. So that was I'm gonna I can't find it on Facebook, which might be why no one from Facebook is on. That's weird. Huh. So it does not show me live in Facebook. So I might have to, okay. All right. So it's not showing up on Facebook. So I'm going to end this. I'm going to try and troubleshoot that, and I will see you back in a few minutes. Okay, we're trying this again. It did not connect to Facebook the first time, so I have restarted the live, and I'm crossing my fingers that it's happening on Facebook now. It says it's supposed to be, but I don't see it. Gosh darn it. Well, isn't that the worst? All right. Still nothing on Facebook. Oh my gosh. Why would it choose today to not work? Let me... Why? Yeah, okay. I mean, let me say something in the Facebook group about it not working. And turn myself this way now. Okay. It's not even letting me like create a live video in Facebook. It's like it's gone. Like the ability to do a Facebook Live is not even an option. So I'm telling everyone to go to YouTube, and we'll just see what happens. Luckily, I have the comments. I see all your comments coming in. Okay. So I'll give everyone just a few more minutes. Tell all your friends. Tell everyone that Facebook is broken. All right. So, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Facebook. Like, I went to the group, like, because I'm doing the Facebook Live bit is being streamed from my phone. So I should be able to go to just on my desktop the group and start a live video, and I can't do that. It's not, well, there it is. Oh well. Anyways, everyone can just come to YouTube. It's fine. Weird. Okay, so it's not just me. Sarah says she's having problems too. It's missing. Facebook Live is broken. Excellent. Everything is weird. Skittles, choose a place to lie down and sleep and stay that way. Okay. So we're talking about Shrek today. And if you don't have a Shrek headband or a Shrek t-shirt, it's fine. I won't judge you too harshly. It's really weird, Sarah. I'm just gonna leave it be. I think I should just leave it be. YouTube is fine, I think. I don't want to have to do this twice, but yeah, it's like there and then it's not there. I can't find it, so I don't want to. Oh well. So we're talking about Shrek today. You do have to figure it out before Wednesday, Sarah, so I'm gonna just let you deal with that, and I'm gonna stick to YouTube. Or let me know if you need to use this app, and I'll let you log in as me. Okay, we're talking about Shrek, and I wrote all my notes. I've got 2 pages front and back about notes to try and keep me on track about this dog's this dog's life. So I wanted to first say that when I met Liz through a really good friend, Carla, and we started having this conversation about what dog do I want? What kind of dog did I want? I mean, obviously I wanted a terrier because I was having conversations with a breeder of Parson Russell Terriers. I had trained and competed at a really high level very successfully with another terrier, Tommy, that did not belong to me, but he lived with me and competed with me for 5 or 6 years before I moved to Washington, and we did really well together, and I really enjoyed that experience. So when I started having conversations with Liz about what kind of dog that I wanted, I knew what I was signing up for. I knew that I wanted a terrier, or I wouldn't have been talking to her. But I did have some specific requests. I wanted a big dog. I didn't want, Tommy was 12 inches tall, and that is about as small of a dog as I ever want. But I really wanted to jump 16. And when I was kind of looking into Liz as a breeder, She had this amazing dog on her website named Smokey, and he is massive. He's like, probably, am I supposed to say this out loud? He's like 16 inches tall. He's so big and beautiful. And on it, like, so when she was asking me what I wanted, I was like, well, if we're being honest, I really would like a Smokey clone. I would like a male. I would like him to jump 16 inches, which means I wanted a 15-inch or taller dog. I would prefer a smooth coat. And I was expressing these kind of aesthetic things that I wanted, these things that probably don't matter really in the long run, because I trusted this particular breeder to give me a structurally sound and healthy animal. Like, just in our conversations and how honest she was, and going there and meeting her and meeting all of the dogs that she has bred and she lives with, I knew that I was going to get healthy and structurally sound. Having visited and watched, herds of terriers get along with other dogs out in big areas, I knew that they had really good temperaments. I knew from her own successes in performance events and where her puppies were being successful in performance events, I knew that she was breeding something that I could work with. Okay, so the things that I asked for, I went in and I asked for what I wanted personally, which was this Smokey clone. And gosh, you guys, she gave them to me. One of the pictures on the ad for today's chat is Shrek sitting on the couch with his dad, Smokey, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, it couldn't have happened any better for me. The only thing that I would have preferred differently is that he happened kind of in a weird time for me. And we all kind of say, like, it's never the perfect time for a puppy. Skreek, our youngest border collie, was only 6 months old. So we had just bred this litter, and this was Graham's puppy. And it was not intentional to have two young dogs kind of at the same time. Our oldest dogs are also that close together in age, only like a couple months apart. So we'll once again have very old dogs together, which can be hard. It can be hard to have puppies together, and it can be hard to have old dogs together, right? Puppies and old dogs need more from you, so it could be a problem. Who knows? But even though I tried to not get attached to Shrek, I was very sad when I didn't think I could get him because of the timing. And Graham decided that he couldn't live with me if I was going to be so sad, so I should just maybe consider again that we could probably handle 2 puppies. And so I went and I got the dog. And Shrek. All right, everyone knows it's a name. It fits my theme: Skittle, Smack, Shock, Skreek, Shrek. And he's this big, giant terrier, so it fits. All right, so that's what I wanted. I asked specifically for this dog, and his breeder gave me exactly what I asked for. So I especially don't want anything I have to say in tonight's discussion for anyone to go thinking that she gave me a dog with problems. I don't think that's it at all. Because when he was a puppy, I would have never expected to be where I am today with him. When he was a puppy, I brought him home in January 2016. He was 3 months old. He was born in October of 2015. So I brought him home a little bit late. It's just how it worked out. He was very well socialized. When I went and I met him a couple of weeks before bringing him home, we went all over the place. The dog, he could be out with the adults going on walks, and he's sticking around, and I mean, he was raised really, really well from a very young age to being out and being socialized. The dog had already gone to Clicker Expo with Liz, getting used to an airplane Sherpa bag. being around people. He was when I went and visited him, we went to a park and Home Depot and pet stores, and he was very easy. He was very easy puppy. So even though it was a little bit weird timing for me when I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this puppy. When I brought him home, he was social. He was easygoing with, thank you guys for everyone that's sharing the YouTube link and keeping things alive. So thank you guys for sure. So he was social, he was easygoing, he was good with other dogs. I have all these pictures of him as a puppy snuggled up with my other dogs. When I first brought him home, he was a little bit of whiny at night, like all puppies are. And Shock, who had just had puppies 6 months ago, she was always comforting him. She would lie down next to him in his X pen and be like, "It's okay. You're my baby now. You're going to be fine." He learned everything so fast and really had, like I said, he was the perfect puppy. Everywhere he went, in the airport, he was tugging and being fine and yada, 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 yada. Okay, so he was the perfect puppy, and he still is. He's still the perfect puppy. It's in my notes, so I'm going to say it to you guys. There was a little bit of, as we started training together more and more, and he had this thing of wanting to sleep in my lap. I have a series of photos as he grew and no longer really able to sleep in my lap. He did exhibit some resource guarding behavior of my lap and also of his training space. So if we were training in the living room and another dog came into the living room, even though he loved those dogs, slept with those dogs, walked with those dogs, could eat next to those dogs, if he and I were training together and another one of those dogs came in, he would growl at that dog. So we did do some redirecting of it, that if he chose that path, I would just send him to a station until he could calm himself down, and then we could continue. I could either invite him back into my lap, or I could continue training, and that pretty much solved it. And he was pretty tiny at the time, so it got better and better as it went. It didn't really escalate from there, but it was always in the back of my mind that, yeah, this is a terrier. Resource guarding could be a thing. Okay. On May 1st, as a 7-month-old puppy, he participated in his first seminar. I had Karen Hollick up to my place, and we did a day of foundation, and that dog, that video is on my YouTube page. He did everything. He was fully engaged. There were people all around. He could eat, he could tug, he could do all the things. The very next day, in the more advanced seminar, I ran one of my border collies through the first course. I probably ran Smack or Shot. Well, those were my border collies. Probably ran Smack through the sequence. And Karen said, yeah, this dog doesn't need training. Go get your puppy. And we broke down that day for him, but he was following the handling at 7 months old. It was perfect, right? Everything was kind of going exactly how it would be planned for me. Absolute perfect puppy then. Yeah, it could sound that way. I don't know. We'll see. I have a pretty specific, we'll get to it, I promise. If you have questions, definitely put them in. Someone did mention that YouTube might have a bit of a lag with the questions, but I will get to them. So if you do have a question about something that happened or didn't happen during his upbringing, just pop it in and I'll answer it. he also, during this time between like 7 months and a year, let's say, he did several play days. He went to play days to like tug and do uh, his tricks. That video is also on my YouTube page of him being at a play day where he did get a little bit distracted, but I could easily like, hey, we're doing this. And he was tugging, he was eating, he was doing his known behaviors. So no like super huge red flags yet, right? Like everything's kind of going fine. When I look back at it now, I probably would structure his engagement a little bit differently, knowing what I know now, because he made me upgrade, right? I was, yeah, right now we're just talking about the perfect puppy, Wendy. So probably if I were to do something differently, I would raise him knowing what I know now, but I didn't do that then. So I guess that's really, I wouldn't do anything differently if the tables were completely turned back. I will say that he did have toy hoarding. That was probably the biggest problem I had when he was a year or younger. He was a huge, yeah, exactly, Ava. We would all do it a little bit differently based on what we know now. So I have a hard time committing to that. So everything was going exactly how I expected it to go based on what I knew. Okay. And when I got him, I thought I was a good trainer. And now it's like I constantly question, are you doing this the best way you know how? Could there be a better way? So I think that's like his lesson, is that don't feel like there is such a thing as good enough, but don't get stuck on just doing what you've always done. He was a toy hoarder, so the very first FDSA class I took with him in mind, I had taken a handful in the years prior to that, but the very first class I took for Shrek specifically is Shade's toy play class to work on the hoarding, because his hoarding was severe. My bathroom is very small. You can't really go anywhere, and he would hold on to his ball for 45 minutes where he couldn't leave with it. He would just sit on the other side of the bathroom holding the ball in his mouth, because holding on to it and doing nothing was better than sharing it with me. This dog you guys have seen his toy play now, okay? It's possible to change, but he was an extreme toy hoarder. So at an under a year old, that to me was that was the biggest issue we had, was the toy hoarding. So I did use food primarily in our training until that got better. I'll just say slower. He was slower, a little bit more thoughtful for food. January 2017, so he's October, November, December, January, he's around 15 months old. There's also a video on my YouTube page that it's just a compilation of his training that was happening at around 15 months old. He was sequencing more. He was finishing his contact training. He was finishing his weave pull training. In my mind, we were getting ready to compete. In fact, I remember that video in particular, when I shared it, I think that was one of the first times Strimming ever commented on one of my things on my videos, and she said I was doing a good job, and that was kind of like a moment for me. And I was like, yeah, we're doing this. It's going great. This is happening. And we were able to start using toys and training. I'm using a toy in training in that video, and food, and everything was going great. So in March of 2017, I took a trip to California with Shrek to do a seminar. in a completely different environment, and that Sarah, what I mean is like, oh my gosh, Sarah notices my training and it's good. It was like a fangirl moment. Um, so we went down to California. Um, it was an interesting experience because he was engaged. He wanted to work, but he was painfully slow. Oh, good. um, he was trying so hard to not be distracted that he couldn't go fast. And I remember there being, and there was another ring running too. Like there were two other rings running. It was a big thing, right? So again, it wasn't like a super big red flag. I was delighted that he chose to work. I was delighted that he had flown down there. He handles the airport like a champ. He handles flying like a champ. He was staying in a hotel room with Carla and her dogs, and he was respecting their space and, well, doing his best to respect their space. He really, really wants Wink to like him, and it just isn't going to happen. So under the conditions that were presented to him, I thought he did really well. There was one moment, though, and it was that lesson where the instructor wanted me to do it one more time, and I shouldn't have done it one more time. And then Wink started her turn in the ring 2 rings down. And it was this perfect combination of I'm getting a little bit fatigued, and my friend, or my wannabe friend, is now having fun over there. So he leapt over all of the fencing and went into the ring with Wink. And I mean, I'm sort of glad it was Wink and not some other dog, but I also don't think he would have left if it wouldn't have been Wink. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So then he technically did have a working spot in the next 2 days, but I sold my spot. I said the dog is toast. And so that was like the first bits of, oh, that he does have limits. He does have a threshold of what he can do. And I pushed it. So at least I learned my lesson in that moment. I sold my spots to someone that was there that didn't get in and that was auditing, and everyone was happy. And I got to just let my dog relax at the seminar and just be at the seminar without pressuring him to work more. Okay. But that didn't stop me from the very next month. I put him into a trial at the facility where all of his training was happening, where I was at the time working. So he was at this facility every day. He had been to all those seminars there. He had been to all those play days there. So I was feeling still very confident in asking some questions about trialing. Because he still didn't, I guess California wasn't a big enough of a like, hey, maybe your dog needs some more work on the different environments. Hey, sometimes humans are slow and we take a while to catch up. So I entered him in a show, and I believe, based on my notes, that the first day, it was like it's a 3-day trial. So the first day I put him into jumpers and fast because that was in one ring. The next day I put him into standard, which was in the other ring. And then on the third day, he was entered in jumpers and fast again. I believe that's what happened. His very first run, novice fast, he went in, he was ready to go. He says, yes, let's do this. I let out. He takes the first jump, and the judge counts. And I remember going, Jeezum Pete's, Megan, you forgot to prepare him for a judge counting numbers. And I just kind of remember feeling a little bit crushed at my, I mean, at the time I was calling it stupid. Like, what a very dumb mistake for me to have made. But I've forgiven myself since then. So he runs over and he's saying hi to the judge. Hi, 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 hi. And I get him back and we do a couple more obstacles and then I just choose to leave. And I was, like I said, feeling a little bit like, oh my God, how could you teach people for a living and you forgot to prepare your dog for a judge saying things to him over like a loudspeaker. Like, just, he was like, he heard the judge count and he was like, oh my God, hi, I'm Shrek. How are you? What's your name? Okay. So then we settled down. I got over myself. And then we went into jumpers and I looked at the course and I said, oh, okay, I'm going to do like 1 through 8 because 8 kind of let us out. No problems. It was like jump, jump, weave. He went jump, jump, weave. He did the next jump. He might have gone around the jump or two, like, or maybe one jump in particular, like on a turn or something, but he was following the handling and he was fine. And better yet, he didn't go say hi to the judge. So I was like, fine, great, we're fine. No problems here. Then the next day, he's in standard and is in a different ring, but he had worked in that ring before. It wasn't like, oh my God, a new place. But it was in the other ring. He ran the course. He completed all of the obstacles, but I could see him like saying hi without physically saying hi. He was checking out the ring crew. You know, as he would be taking an obstacle, he's watching the ring crew. And it's like, okay, yeah, you need to prepare him a little bit for that. I had this expectation that his desire for agility would outweigh all of the distractions, as it had worked for me in the past. So as I trained him, I made that assumption that he has a really high rate of reinforcement and a really good reinforcement history for the obstacles and working for me and running courses with me, that everything else will just fall away. Because I had never noticed, he certainly didn't have fear in those situations. He was always very confident in those situations and things like that. And like I said, I didn't pay enough attention to what was happening in California. That's that hindsight thing. Or I thought he would be fine in Fun for Paws because so much of it was normal and familiar to him. Okay, but I recognized it and I was kind of telling myself that, okay, we're going to take time off and fix all this. And that was the plan, 100%. But I was still going to run him the next day, which I think anyone would have. I still don't think this was the problem. I don't think I made a mistake by running him again the next day. It just so happens that here is the turning point. Remember, he's about 18 months old. He's intact. And so the very next day at the trial, he's on the start line for jumpers, and I have let out. And just as I am about to release him, or I think I had released him, and just as he's getting up, a dog fight or dog like scuffle noise, something happened directly behind him on the other side of the wall. And at this particular facility, you can't see outside the walls. And I remember I was like a jump and a half out. So I was like 15 or 20 feet away from him. And I remember him freezing and his ears doing the, oh my God, I'm going to die thing. And he couldn't move. And I called him to me, and he kind of got unstuck, and we went and got our leash, and we exited, and we went about everything normally. But then he had like a couple months off before I entered him in his next trial, because I said I was going to work on those things. At the next event, the next trial at the same location, he did not offer consent to having his leash removed. He was not okay anymore. So now we have a problem. My dog that I was quite unconcerned about with regards to being able to work in other environments now says he doesn't want to. And so that was like the first thing for me that was severe. And now we have to go to the next page. All right, everyone still with me? Wendy says, hard to plan for a dog fight. Have had the exact same thing happen on one of my dog's first trial. A couple of dogs fighting in a shared crate. Yeah, I mean, you can't plan for it. What I will say is, again, this hindsight thing, is that he definitely was underprepared for dealing with things like that inside the ring without reinforcers present. Because if that had happened and I had reinforcers on me, it might not have been a big deal. It might not have mattered. But in this case, it did. It mattered a lot. So we focused a ton on just building back up his confidence for consenting to start work again. And so that would have been like April and May, those problems happened. And then I tested him again over New Year's. I think 17, 18, I tested him. So yeah, like end of 17, beginning of 2018, I tested him again. And it was about half and half. I got 1 or 2 runs out of him where he was willing to work, but he was definitely distracted. And then each run, he wanted less and less to be in there. So it was like, okay, this isn't going to be an easy fix. This is going to be a, like, you need to pretend this dog is a puppy. You need to kind of start over. And it's tricky because I was still working at that particular facility, teaching 4 days a week and maybe even traveling away to teach once a month. So it was a definite, this is where the timing piece could have been better, because I wasn't quite in a way, I couldn't put as much into him as he required. So that is something I would do differently, is I would set up my situation a little bit better so that I could give him everything he needed. In all of 2018, I had 0 plans for competing. It was off the table, and I dove in to solving this dog's problems. I invited, well, of course, I had Sarah Strimming teaching at my place. I had Amy Cook teaching at my place, and I had Shade Weitzel coming up teaching. And I had lengthy conversations with all three of these brilliant women about this dog. And we were making pretty good progress. About, I think it was June 2018, we were starting to, or I guess maybe for a few months leading up to June of 2018, we were starting to see a lot more sniffing in the training, and it was Strimming at the Hidden Potential seminar where she gave me permission to neuter him. And so I had a talk with his breeder, and we had him collected because that's what the breeder wanted to do, just in case. You know, he's got siblings and family members that everything was, you know, so whatever, but he's technically still in the breeding program. So he was collected, he was neutered, and everything started to get just a little bit better. His hyper social behavior, and we were like, in addition to working on his hypersocial behavior that was increasing with the sniffing and with the no longer wanting to consent to working. When we neutered him, everything got better. He was not as hypersocial. He was not sniffing in the same way anymore. Sarah did I try, Allie, did I try turmeric? You know, I didn't. I've tried basically everything else, but not turmeric. Sarah says it's a very rare recommendation from her, and I agree. It was the last thing on my list, probably because I have my own biases about that, but it was the right move for him, 100%. And I would do that again, and I might do it sooner. So now we're in the middle of 2018, and my work situation changed, and I would be primarily training him outdoors for agility. Okay. This was completely fine. We were working on just cleaning up our skills and practicing some routines. No big deal. I did another test run in November of 2018 because I was way too tempted. And he was half and half. His first run, he was still way too overwhelmed by people. He wanted to go say hi. And then his second run, he completed the course. And it wasn't difficult. It was like an intro level tunneler's course, so it was just take the tunnel that's in front of you. But that was huge then for me because he was functional. It was in the same arena that the bad thing happened, and it was like a year and a half later, but it was kind of like, oh, we might actually be able to fix this. So I did do that, and then a couple weeks later he flew to Colorado with me. I was teaching there for a little bit, and no, I was going to teach there for the weekend, and so, but I went a day early to attend a seminar as a student, and he was functional. He could work. His toy skills were not good. He wanted the toy, but he couldn't let it go. And so like I swapped the food. But he was great for the food. He just couldn't, he wasn't 100% because he couldn't do his toy skills. So that was really good information for me too. Again, he's like the greatest dog on the planet to travel with. The dog is so easygoing at the airport and at TSA, and he's not great. Like, he can walk through an airport without saying hi to people. Probably because of the expectation. He's never walked through an airport with people gushing over him. But he's so easy to travel with. He sleeps under the covers in hotel rooms. I mean, he sleeps most of the time anyways. So he's great. So all winter, I really worked on him being able to do his toy skills at both locations that I was training that were outdoors, and we really got more serious about obedience training and team training because I needed to focus my training energy on something other than agility so that he was getting consistent training that had a little bit less pressure, because even though I don't intend to train with pressure ever, but agility is my thing and I am serious about it. So there is just some inherent pressure that I will put on dogs, and it's not intentional, but it happens because I care about agility more than I care about obedience. How were these challenges for you emotionally? Oh, it sucked, Tara. I can talk about it now. If you had asked me to do this live a year ago, I would have to sob through it. It was awful. I could probably still be convinced to cry about it. But I can kind of accept everything is. But this has kind of always happened. Always is a terrible thing. But I have gone through a phase like this with all of my dogs where I thought, oh my gosh, there'll never be anything. But I have spent a ton of time on my mindset as well, so I'm so much better at it than I was when, like, say, Smack was in his area of oh my gosh, gloom and doom all the time. So absolutely, there were times where this was terrible, and I had plenty of conversations with my obedience coach where I was just crying and she was just listening to me cry and helping me work out a training plan. So maybe that helps. Exactly, Nikki. I've quit agility like 100 times, at least. But that's why I had to train obedience. Because I care so much about agility that I needed something else to train with this dog to be different. Thank you, Diane. I definitely recognize that. Selfishly, I wish he wasn't so helpful some days, but it is what it is. I accept it, and I'm glad I can help people. Mental challenges with the dog with issues abound. After I spent 10 months fixing my OCD dog's table issues, I realized how much I had been affected work with dogs. Yeah, it takes a toll. Because remember, the dog doesn't choose the sport, you did. And you can say that you kind of, and some people can do that really well, where they're like, yeah, the dog can pick the sport and it's no problem. I just want to do anything with my dogs. I'm not that person. I want to do agility. So when it happens that agility isn't on the agenda, I'm a little bit heartbroken. It's crushing, and it's okay. How you react to that is the big thing. Wendy, yeah, I'm totally with you there. It's no fun. I don't want to do nose work. I don't want to do barn hunt. I enjoy training for obedience. I don't know that I want to compete in obedience. I will say that just to kind of follow up on Tara's comment there now, it helped tremendously. Not only did it help our training relationship, it's because we like training together. I like training him more than I like training any other dog I've ever had. So obedience gives me that option, and I don't put as much pressure on him. So I think it's been a win-win. Yeah, Ava, then there are things like that we can't control those things either, right? So at least there is a sport that she can participate in and that you guys can enjoy together. Okay. So then because now we're outside. Remember, everything is, now we're basically outside. We're training agility outside. And everything was going fine. We were focusing on our agility, our obedience. We were going to an obedience class once a week, very regular. I was doing obedience homework more often than I was doing agility homework. I was focusing on those toy skills, and everything was going great. Until spring comes around. Now we're into 2019, like spring 2019, summer 2019. Hunty feelings take over. I have to pause for one moment because my phone's telling me it's going to die on you. So I have to go grab the charger. So talk amongst yourselves. I can't believe I was so unprepared. I didn't know I was going to die. So hunty feelings make spring and summer training outdoors nearly impossible. Okay, we did that page. So, and by nearly impossible, I mean he will get out of the car. He'll say, yes, I want to train. Yes, I want your food. Yes, I want your toys. But I don't want your agility. I would like to go hunt. And he would throw himself into the brush, and he will just stay in the brush forever, or whatever, for however long. 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. He'll just switch flips. He's gone. Super fun. Nothing I can really do. It's not my agility field, so I can't really put up a fence. So what do you do? Well, for one, a lot. The first answer was I didn't do a lot during spring and summer. I just didn't do a lot of agility. We did other things. We would go and we would just play frisbee, and I would keep him on a long line, and we would just work on reinforcer cues and things like that, or we would do obedience because I could bring all of his props, but there was no letting him make choices in that situation, hard choices, because there wasn't a choice. If he was given a moment to choose between agility and hunting, hunting would always win. And so removing all that choice isn't how I want to play agility, so we didn't play agility. But on the side, we did go to, so summer of 2019, we went to Pennsylvania for FDSA camp, and we had a working spot there, and he killed it. He was phenomenal. Of course, you've heard me say this 100 times. he flew brilliantly. He stayed in the Airbnb brilliantly. He owned that camp. He was on his mat. He was comfortable. He could do all the things. He was great. He owned that place. We also came back and did a seminar, an agility seminar at a different location. And he was very functional, but he still couldn't do toy play. It wasn't 100%. He wanted the toy, but then when he had possession over the toy, he would go bring it to other people before he would bring it back to me. So it was always getting better, but not good enough. Like, if he can't be 100% with a toy on me or with food on me, it's not gonna be great in the trial. So these were all good experiences, and things were getting better, and I could see improvement happening, but it wasn't enough yet. And I think this is the biggest difference, in that I made a decision with him that I was not going to trial through this problem. I was going to train and choose situations where I think he could be successful and work our way back slowly into trialing. Fast forwarding, all through the summer, outdoor obedience was very good for him because he could figure out where there are requests for crying over dogs support group. Choose any dog group or sport page. Like, if you're not crying over dog sports, you're not trying hard enough. I don't know. I don't know. So outdoor obedience was very good for him because obedience was more, it was more consistent, and everything, it just has a little bit more structure than agility to it, just by my cues are the same every time. And so he could learn to expect certain things more easily. So outdoor obedience was very good for getting him back into training outside, even though he had hunty feelings. And I got super clear on session structure. When he was allowed to sniff, when he was working, when he was going to be on a station, when he was going to have downtime, it got very, very clear. And you guys, you've seen all this in practice in previous lives and videos that I've shown. By August 2019, I put him into a gold class at FDSA because I was starting to see that he was capable of doing more and more outside again. And so the gold class, for me, it was really important for me to get another set of eyes on him, so that because sometimes it's very hard to view your own training objectively. So it was very important for me to have someone else's training plan, and a training plan be given to me, and to keep me accountable and honest. So that was really, really important. And then by September of 2019, I started doing a little bit more training at the local facility again with ring rentals and things like that. And I decided to put him into an ACT test run. So this was, no, I have to, it says Shrek happens, so it's even more perfect than it would appear. The ACT run was super successful. He went in the first round, and he was like, yep, we're good. He ran really, really fast. And so he was following the handling, but by the end of the course, he he was running around the obstacles, but he was still following my handling. But he wasn't going to say hi to people. He was with me. He was just now so high that he was doing the things that he couldn't actually do the things. So that was an important observation for me too, because not only can he be delicate and be like, oh my God, I'm a little bit worried, I'm not sure I can do it. He can also go, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm losing my mind, right? Like he's both ends of the spectrum so quickly. And so that became the next thing I was going to work on is, okay, now can you function when you're this high? And so we went to as many different places as I could reasonably do, just trying to keep exposing him to different environments. Can you eat? Can you play with your toys? Can you function? In October, so just a month later, there was another ACT event at the same location. And so I was going to go do that again. But when I got there, he couldn't tug. He couldn't bite his toy. He was unresponsive to the toy cues. So we left. I went home. And that that was kind of when I started wondering what is actually going on in this dog's head. Because once he starts doing agility, he really, really likes it. He likes it so much that he gets a little bit over aroused. But he doesn't get over aroused at the precursors of doing agility. So like, he doesn't have those same reactions like when I go do anything that resembles agility with any of my border collies. They're like, oh my God, agility. Shrek doesn't feel, oh my God, agility feelings until he's doing agility. So we're like, now we have this like chicken or the egg situation. Once he's doing agility, we don't have a problem. It's convincing him to start agility that is the problem. And so I was kind of realizing that, but I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I'm still not sure I know, but I stay with me, and I'm going to finish this story eventually. So we didn't do that ACT because he couldn't. Do you think that overarousal causes anxiety or discomfort for him? You know, I don't see that. I could be wrong, but I've never seen him look anxious when I think what I would typically describe as over aroused. So like big eyes, big open mouth, panty, barking, which is not something he does. No, I wouldn't. The behaviors that I think the behaviors that when I think of discomfort or anxiety with him, his ears are doing this number. They're like back and away, and they're not. When he's alert and aroused, they're up and they're like, yeah, we're happy, happy, happy. So I guess maybe what I'm describing in him as over aroused is like a little bit too happy to function, rather than I think the anxiety or discomfort behaviors that he would display could be sniffing, visiting people, or zooming. So I do think there's a fine line, like too happy to function, so following my handling but not able to actually do the obstacles. And then there's zooming, not following my handling, not able to function. I think that is anxiety or discomfort. Is that also over arousal? This is a little bit of the problem with labels, right? But it is a good question. So there's like these fun, I guess instead of saying, I should probably just say the behaviors that I observed. So when I refer to as like over arousal, he is just too happy to function. He could run with me, he could follow my handling, but he was just so excited to be running that he couldn't do the obstacles. Versus he's also had situations where he like takes one obstacle and just starts zooming. I think that is discomfort. We didn't do that ACT where he couldn't respond to toys. A week or two later, we did a seminar and he killed it. It was indoors, it was on turf, very smelly turf. He was functional with food, he was functional with the toy, he was functional with another ring working right next to him. He was everything that I wanted, like it was perfect. Noah says it's so hard to know a study of one, leaving versus giving agility a try and lack of a toy motivation. Exactly. I mean, right. This is really just a story about Shrek because I don't know if it's helpful at all to anyone else because this literally is a study of one. Who knows? The very next one is going to be a complete different study in behavior and motivation. So I have no idea. So when he had that wonderful experience at the seminar, I was feeling very, very good. Excellent, Bruce. I'm glad. I know Shrek and Sadie, they would make the cutest little crazy babies. I finally, that seminar experience at the end of 2019, so his 4th birthday, basically, I could finally see the dog that I know that I have in a different environment, and that what I had been working towards was happening. So the behaviors that I was used to seeing, the things that no one else had ever seen, I saw. So I was like, okay, 2020, this is gonna be the year. Ta-da! You're welcome. I'm pretty sure the pandemic is my fault because I said 2020 was gonna be Shrek's year. So, sorry, not sorry, you're welcome. It's all my fault. Because the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, I was making very plans on getting his ring routines solid. And we found some holes. I was going down south to do some ring rentals with Sarah and Felix, and we found some problems. Sarah happens to be one of Shrek's favorite people, so it was like a good and bad thing. But we like had a plan, or I felt like a plan was forming to make these, to make the getting started, right? Because remember, that's the problem. Once he's doing agility now, he's pretty good. I had this in the back of my head that once he's doing agility, he's fine. It's starting agility that is hard. And whether that goes back to that day, that traumatic experience or not, doesn't really matter. But it's hard for me to let it go. It's really hard for me to go, if that hadn't happened, would I even be having this conversation? It doesn't matter. It's happened. We are having this conversation. But, so basically, December, January, February, we were training. We were working very hard on our routines. We were uncovering some secrets, and we were making progress. And we had this new start line routine where I was gonna start behind him and run past him to keep the energy really high. And at the end of February, I took him to that same training facility that Sarah and I had been going to, and he was entered in a UKI show, just like one run. And the first run, he wanted to be in there, and he was pretty focused, and he went into the ring, and he wanted to go, and it's like he started really, really good. And for like a split second, I thought, we're doing this. And at like obstacle 4, his nose hit the ground. And so I just asked him to jump in my arms, and he did, and we left. And then after that, when I brought him back in the building, it was a no-go. So it's like the amount of progress is like this, but it's there. He at least wasn't unwilling to start. He didn't go visit someone. He says, okay, that's all I can do. I need a cookie now. And that, to me, it's at least observable that I can focus on that. And then pandemic. Okay, so now we got to the end of February. I went away. I visited my family the beginning of March, and when I came back, I was sick with, who knows what it was, but I think it was just the normal, you've been traveling sick. And then the rest of the world decided to shut down as well. So here we are, all caught up. You feel like you've been through his entire life. Remember that thing I said about the arousal thoughts, and we know that there is like this optimal state of arousal, right? Like if they're a little bit underwhelmed, I kind of feel like there's a sweet spot for him, and there's a sweet spot for all dogs, but his is, if he's under aroused, he's very easily distracted by people, smells, other dogs, whatever. And then if he's over aroused, he's too happy to function. And so there's this sweet spot that I am trying to unlock, that I said that once he's doing agility, he finds himself there. But I need him to find himself there when I say, hey, we're doing agility. So, I didn't know what I was going to do with that. But then pandemic. So I had some time, because I was no longer concerned with getting him into the ring this year. Not concerned. Maybe next year. We finished up our Team 1 title. So we kind of focused on that. We made those behaviors look really, really good enough in one run, one go at it, that we got a passing score and all the things. In March, we did some coursework training outside. But then remember those hunty feelings that happen in spring and summer? They came back. And at first, when they came back, I thought, oh my God, all of that progress that we've made, it's gone. And then I went back to my notes, and I realized that this also happened last year. So this is, it's part of him now. It's different. And when this started happening, again, and I looked back at my notes, and so what I didn't do last time that I tried this time is I tried to do a little pre-mac with hunting. And that sort of worked. But as we know about pre-mac, that it makes the hunting stronger. So I made probably a little bit of progress with pre-mac, but I think because I also made hunting stronger by the use of pre-mac, I think I ended up not making all that much progress. So I stopped that. I did that for like 6 weeks. Like one session, maybe not even that long. Maybe not even 6 weeks. Maybe like 6 sessions worth. Maybe once a week. I don't know. But I could look at my notes. But I did try some pre-mac of, if you look at me, I'm just going to send you to hunt. If you look at me and do position changes, I'm going to send you to hunt. If you do a short sequence, I'm going to send you to hunt. And by the progress that I did see was that he was choosing to come out of the hunting before I called him off. So that to me was telling me he's capable of staying in this focus, being able to do agility while hunting is available to him. So I was okay. But then I started to see that it was harder for him to choose agility over hunting. And I do think that's because the pre-mac made the hunting stronger. So then if I wasn't actively using pre-mac, so if I wasn't actively using hunting as a reinforcer, he would just go do it. He couldn't avoid those feelings. So then my options were to continue using hunting as a reinforcer or try something else. I chose to move on from pre-mac. I increased the amount of decompression walks that he got, and I decreased the amount of agility that I asked for. And then I was paying a lot of attention to his mindset in these different situations. Shrek does not hunt on decompression walks. He decompresses on decompression walks. When he's hunting, he is frantically sniffing and searching and seeking and digging. But he doesn't do that on decompression walks. When he chooses to hunt, it's like his brain goes bye-bye. But his brain never goes bye-bye on a decompression walk. So they didn't meet the same need to him. So increasing decompression did not decrease the desire for hunting, even though he could be hunting on decompression walks. He just doesn't. It's fascinating. But I'm glad, because decompression walks are decompressing for him, and hunting is maybe enriching and very fun, but it jacks him up. He's like comes out with like giant eyes and things like that. So they weren't, I couldn't just replace one with the other, is what I'm saying. There was about a week and a half where I said, Graham, you get to do all the agility with Shrek. I'm not even going to ask for agility. Here's the food. You go do whatever. And Graham doesn't know his protocols or rituals or anything. Graham just took some food and said, hey, you want to go do this? And Shrek was kind of like, okay. I think he was so shocked. Christina says, on the agility course, is he actually hunting or stress sniffing? I actually don't see a ton of sniffing in agility. That was never, I don't see a ton. The one time I saw it like in competition was the UKI trial, and I think he was sniffing, not hunting. I don't see hunting in indoor facilities, and we do most of our competing indoors. You would have to pay me a lot of money to compete with him outdoors right now. You would have to pay me a lot. because I don't think he can turn it off yet. So that's kind of the next thing on my to-do list, training-wise, is to teach him to turn hunting on and off. We just kind of skipped a few. We skipped ahead. So Graham played around with him for a couple of weeks, and Shrek did it. He did some things. He had a good time. It was no big deal. We played one game where Graham would start running him and then get him back to the station, and then I would take off running the same sequence with him, and then Graham would try to take off running with him again, and Shrek chose me. Shrek wouldn't leave the station with Graham. So I was like, okay, great. He loves me more. It's fine. But I just wanted to see if, like, changing up the routine or taking the pressure off, right? That inherent pressure that I can't get rid of because I care so much. So it was kind of a fun experiment because honestly, I don't care. If he wanted to be Graham's dog, I was ready to give him to Graham if that's what he wanted. Turns out he doesn't. He wants me. And I'm pleased about it. So then, but I did notice it was hard for him. He was having a hard time checking in. He really wanted to hunt. I was having really great conversations with his breeder and a couple of other people that own relatives about these hunty feelings and things like that. And so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna ride this out a little bit. I'm gonna make a plan for developing the on and off switch for hunting because I think that's going to be a long-term project. I don't think it's going to be an easy training thing. But so I decided that if I bring him to the outdoor field, I'm only going to do obedience. I'm not going to ask him for anything difficult. I might not even take him to the grass. I might just do it in the carport area where it's just concrete and it will be super easy. And so I kind of started, it's on my to-do list for him to address this hunt on-off switch. Because I think if I can teach that to him, I can use Premac a little bit more effectively. And two, it will give him that skill on his own to be able to switch in and out. Because like I said, on a decompression, he just did it today. He was after deer today, and he was watching them go by, and then another one started running, and so he went into the field, and he's watching them, and he's just watching them. He's not interested in chasing them. He's just watching them. And when I whistled and started moving on down the trail, it took him a while to get back because he had gone down into the field where the deer were, but he was like fighting his way back through the brush to get back to me. And that doesn't happen when he's hunting. So that's next on my to-do list, is to really address that piece. But another thing that I played around with is at home, he was developing some big feelings over training at home, like vocalizing. And so I have captured barking on cue, and he can now bark at me on the agility field if I ask for it. So did you guys lose me? Am I still here? Let me know if you can still hear me. Okay, good. Good. It hasn't reset on my end, so that's why I asked. Okay. What was I saying? Right, so barking. He's now Okay, good. There I am. It wasn't, it was still frozen on my end, so I was freaking out a little bit. He can now bark at me on cue, and I think that is potentially a way for me to access that little bit of arousal that I need before starting agility. And I don't know. We'll see. Because now it's September, and history tells me that the hunty feelings are going to get less and less. And I have had 3 training sessions in a row where he has gotten out of the car pushing me to work. And so we've had 3 sessions in a row now where he was very engaged, ready to go, sequencing, very easy stuff, but sequencing and playing with his toy, bringing it back, tugging, dealing with everyday normal agility training sessions. But the barking is on board. So I don't know if that is good or bad or right or wrong, but it's where we're at right now. And now you're all caught up. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to kind of resume the like ring prep stuff. And I am in even less of a hurry now, because now that virtual trialing is a thing, I think that's going to be my next thing to do, is to work on my routines and try the virtual agility trialing when he's ready, and then slowly build in inviting other people to come watch him trial virtually. And then I really hope virtual trialing stays around. Even if it doesn't, I think we should make it a thing. We should keep doing it for the sake of splitting these behaviors down. Because I really think it could be good. It could be so good. So I think that's where I'm at right now. And I tried to write down things that I would do differently. And like I said, I think the number one thing that I would probably do is put a higher priority on taking him to more places sooner and more regularly, because I just feel like I'm playing catch up. I don't feel like and of course when you're playing catch up, you are having to deal with the less than great experiences, right? So even though I'm trying to fill things in now, I'm having to like fill in holes instead of just building on success. Does that make sense? So yeah, I think having small groups of people over to virtual trial together, I think that could be a really good thing. And then if you have a few friends that have space, you could every week or every month do your virtual trial at a different location. I think it could be done so well and so smartly, and I'm going to try really hard to just fill in these gaps a little bit better this time. Because Shrek has definitely taught that there is no skipping steps, and I'm not going to get away with skipping anything. I'm not going to get away with assuming anything. I need to split and split and split and split again, and take my time, and it will happen. And I truly believe that even though I'm not competing, if he's, say, 6 when he debuts, I think when he debuts, he will move up through the levels really, really quickly, and we will achieve goals really, really quickly. And I think that will be practically this, like, the end game will be the same as if he were trialing right now, because he wouldn't be successful right now. So I would be trialing and trialing and trialing and trialing and trialing and just racking up more less than great experiences. And instead, I'm going to choose to train and use virtual trialing to my benefit and my advantage. And then when he's actually trialing again, he will be ready. And I'm not going to be the judge of this. I'm going to bring in outside eyes and go, this is what's happening. What do you think I should do next? This is what's happening. What do you think I should do next? I am not going to let this be up to me 100% anyways. I have my notes. I have my videos. I have my feelings, and I have my feelings. So we're going to see what happens this time. I still sort of think this is his year, but it's just a little bit different than how I originally planned it going. Elise says, virtual trials have been the best stepping stone for me and the Quaker. Put some of my trial feelings into the equation while slowly layering in our skills and distractions. Also sleeping in. 100% to your entire comment. Tara says, pandemic sucks, but it's making a lot of us make better competition patience decisions for our dogs. Also true. I think, you know, I don't want to be like this cliche about seeing a silver lining in everything, but there are a lot of things about pandemic that I'm not complaining about. There's a lot of great things coming from something that sucks really bad. But look at all the creative things that we've come up with because of it, right? We've grown, we've improved, we've evolved because of it. Like, isn't that kind of the purpose? I'm just saying. So that's Shrek's story. If you have questions, you can. I will be around this evening. I will keep answering them. If you have thoughts or something I said sounds like your dog and you're not sure, post about it. Let's talk about it. I think I am all for, and yeah, exactly, Nikki. I think pandemic has kind of given us all an opportunity to just do better training and kind of evaluate everything that we have and everything that we want. Kim, you were here and you didn't say anything until now. Hi, Kim. So let me know your questions. Let me know what you think. If something sounds familiar, I hope it was helpful. It was. I mean, I could talk for days about Shrek and every single experience he had. I tried to hit the main points, the things that I think were the most important, the milestones, the kind of the pivotal moments so far. But there's certainly a lot more. So if you have something specific about what I did or didn't do, let's talk about it in the group. And let's see if we can maybe solve some of your own training problems. But that's his story. Thank you guys for hanging with the technology. I have no idea why it didn't work on Facebook, but this recording will be on my YouTube page as soon as I hit finish. All right. Thank you guys so much. for your encouraging comments as well. It's really cool to have this group. I'll see you guys later.